It is Thursday, September 26th, and today I want to talk about a Stephen Covey principle. Now, Stephen Covey wrote The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, and also his much better sequel, in my opinion, The 8th Habit. But in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, he talks about your circle of influence versus your circle of concern. And what this means is you have a very small circle of influence, and that's things you can actually influence in the world. And then you have a very much larger circle of concern, and these are things that you're concerned about, like the weather, the climate, the president's actions, things like that. And he talks about how the more we focus on our circle of concern, things that concern us outside of our influence, the less power we have and the smaller our circle of influence shrinks. Whereas if we focus on our circle of influence, the things we can control, such as when you wake up, what you think about, how you act, what you do, all these things you can control, your circle of influence expands. And I saw this in my own life. At times when I focused on things that I couldn't control, like politics or world events, I just lost track. You know, the whole get woke, go broke. Yeah, get woke, go broke. Obviously, is because you're focusing on things that you can't possibly control, and it distracts you from doing the things that you can control that you should be doing. So, just to show a change in circumstances is when I started making my nonprofit, the Canopedia. Suddenly, I focused on what I could do. I could do my own research, I could build a website, and I could build a nonprofit dedicated towards putting out accurate information on the cannabis plant. Whereas what I couldn't do was affect world governments and how they legalize the plant. Although, as I kept going, my circle of influence grew larger. Soon I was contacted by a company in Spain and flown to Spain, put up in a penthouse right on the beach. I was offered all kinds of things, eventually flown to America, where through a series of unfortunate events, I ended up on the hemp road trip, which was a great experience and a great opportunity. Thank you very much, Rick. And as a result of that, I then made the hemp road trip feature documentary film, my first documentary film that I ever directed. I filmed, edited, and directed it, and narrated it, and wrote it. And because of that, now the United States has legalized hemp federally. I mean, I'm sure my film and my work with the Canopedia didn't cause that directly, but indirectly, I've been contacted by several senators and politicians who've told me that in their district, my film really helped to push voters over the edge and to really inform people in a balanced way. So that's how I was able to take my circle of influence, which was tiny. I was just this little guy living on a mattress in Germany. How could I affect the US government? But then by slowly focusing on the things that I could control, what I thought about, what I did, and how I used my time, I increased my circle of influence until I actually helped change the legislation of the United States government. And now my film is being translated into Chinese, Spanish, German, all kinds of languages, and I have the opportunity to influence world governments in how they view this plant. So I know that these days, especially with politics the way it is, you have Brexit, you have Trump, you have so much going on. There's right-wing extremist governments being elected all over the world. It's very easy to get distracted and get sucked in, and I'm so guilty of it myself, and that's part of why I'm doing this journal, is to try and break this habit, because you feel guilty looking at bad things happening without saying something. But the problem is saying something is elusive and not elusive, deceptive. Because when you speak up, you feel like you've done something, you feel like you've made a difference, but you actually haven't. You've only made yourself probably feel worse, and possibly the people you are speaking to feel worse. So there is a time and place to speak up, and I do believe that there is a need to point out the corruption, which I will continue to do, especially when it comes to international pedophile networks. But focusing on that it's outside of my circle of influence. I cannot control it. What I can control is what I do and how I use my time. And that is my message to you. If you want more power and more influence, focus on your circle of influence and watch it grow until it can meet and maybe even exceed your circle of concern. I'm DJ Nikki. Thanks for joining me on this adventure. See you next time. Bye.